All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Phonetics on Verbling. I am Teacher Jack. Here's my Verbling address, so you can see it there. Today we're going to be learning how to read and recognize the phonetic symbols. These are symbols you'll see in dictionaries and whatnot. They're used to write words phonetically, that is, how they sound, so that no matter what language you speak, if you were familiar with this alphabet, you'd be able to read the words. Hello there.
Hello, teacher.
Hello. Hello, Hugo.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good to hear. Where are you coming from today?
I'm from Colombia.
Colombia? Well, welcome. Oh, we have another student. Hello. All right. So, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, we're going to be learning about how to read the phonetic alphabet. This is the alphabet you see in dictionaries. And hopefully it'll help with pronunciation because English words are not always spelled how they sound. So we go over to this page. So you'll see on your screen now, this is the Wikipedia page on English sounds. I've chosen this to do it via Wikipedia because Wikipedia is actually really nice because if you're ever confused about any of these, you can always click on the little sound and it will bring you to the Wikipedia page for the sound and it will list, you can see here, the sound in all these different languages. So if you don't know what it's like in English but you know any of these languages, you'll know what it's like. So anyway, these here are the consonants of the English language. So luckily we can see here on the left, this is their symbol phonetically. On the right, this is how they're spelled in English, with the part in bold being the part that represents that letter. So luckily, most of them match up to English. M for M, N for N, P for P, B for B, and so on. There are a few oddballs I'll go over. This N with the little hook is the NG sound, like in king or running or rang, all have this sound in them. Here's P for pit, T for tin, K for cut. This sound, this little funny looking thing, this is ch. You know, it's made of T and another sound. It's ch. That other sound we actually see down here, this little S looking thing. This is the sh sound. So this word is pronounced dilution. That TI is pronounced sh. So up here with cheap, you can think of the ch, the CH sound, as being starts as a T but ends as a sh. So ch, cheap. We then over here have another double sound like that. D you'll recognize as D, as in din or dog. This little symbol we also see down here. This is zh, like in delusion or garage or azure. Those have this zh sound. So if you take a D and a zh and you put them together, you get the English J sound. J, j, as in Jeep, John, jog. So then we have some more familiar sounds. F for fat, V for vat. Then we have these two sounds. Both of these sounds are written TH in English. This one is like in thy, and this one is like in thigh. So you have those words the same except for this, this symbol. So this is thigh, thy. The difference between them, if you reach up and touch your throat, this one is your throat will not vibrate when you say it. But this one, your throat will. Thigh, thy. This sound we don't actually need to worry about. This sound only exists in Scottish English, so we're just going to ignore it. Don't pay attention to it. We go down a little further. We have H, ham, R, run, J in phonetics. And this can be a little confusing because in English J makes this J sound. But in phonetics, J makes the Y sound, y, y. Like in Germanic languages also often uses J to write that sound. So remember that in English writing it's J, but phonetically it's always a y. So yes. W for W, we, and L for L, left. So those are the English consonants. Does anyone have any questions or confused about anything at this point?
No.
All right. Well, then we're going to move on to vowels now. You're going to learn those symbols. Vowels, we're going to find them on the same page. You can just run down here. And you'll notice that vowels vary greatly between English accents. So this one on the left, this is British pronunciation. This one on the right, this is Australian. And this one in the center is American. That's the one I'm going to focus on because I am an American, and so this is the accent I have authority on. Luckily, we can see they're not too terribly distinct. We see a lot of symbols here, like we did up there. I'm going to go through with them what sounds they make. So this lowercase I, this is E. You can hear the sound. Your tongue goes way up to the front of your mouth and near the roof. E, like in read or beat or peas. Next to it, we have this capital I. This is often called the short I in English. It sounds like I. So bit, tip, grit. It's that I sound. E, I. You can think of this one as being very tense. You can feel it. E, all your muscles, your tongue is tense. Then for I, you relax all those muscles. E, I. Similarly over here, we have oo, a sound in the back of your mouth with your lips rounded. Oo, like in shoe. Then we have next to it, similarly to E and I, we have a more relaxed sound. This is the sound in could, should, would. So oo, Coming down here, we have this little Greek letter epsilon. This is as in red, bed, tread, Down here is a sound that many non-English speakers have a struggle with. This sound is pronounced ah. You find it in hat, cat, pat. The way you make this sound is that it's in the front of your mouth, but near the bottom of your mouth as well. So to make it, you want to open up your mouth, let your jaw drop down, and you go ah, with your tongue near the bottom of your mouth. Ah. If we go over right here, this little upside down V, this is Next to it is a very familiar sound for most languages, ah, all the way in the back of your throat. Ah, written with that little A. Over here, this little upside down E is called a schwa. It's a barely pronounced vowel. It sounds like It's barely there. It's never stressed in English. So it's barely there. Whenever you have an unstressed vowel, you're not sure what it is, it's probably a schwa. This vowel that looks like an O but with one side broken, or a backward C, this sound very rarely appears on its own in English. It almost always appears with an R or another vowel next to it. This is a vowel in for or boring. O is how it's pronounced, O. So those are all our single vowels. Now down here you'll see these vowels. These have this fun fancy word. They're called diphthongs. It's fun to say, I think, diphthong. You don't have to know that word though. All diphthong means is these are two vowels smushed together. So for instance, this vowel, this E, this is the Spanish E, eh. This is that little unstressed I. You put them together, you get A. As in play, stay, may, crazy. That's A. Next to it, you have ah and I. That makes I. Like an eyeball, or to try, or I myself. I myself. Then we have this one. Remember I told you this vowel rarely appears on its own. It's normally next to this other vowel. Together they make oi, as in boy, toy, the city of Troy. Then we have here these vowels. This is a and this weak u, this This makes ow, as in how, brown, cow. This one right here, this is O, like the letter O. You find it in boat, although, grow. So those are all these diphthongs. These two in parentheses down here we don't really need to worry about. They're dialectical. They exist in certain dialects, but not mine. So we're lucky. We don't have to care. So does anyone have any questions about those? Does everyone understand those? Think they can say those?
No, it's okay. Maybe it's a little difficult when we find these symbols in the word. Yeah.
Okay. So next, actually, I have a little exercise prepared for us, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to switch over to this. So now right here we can see that I have a, oops, uh-oh. Just a moment. I forgot to erase all the answers to those, so I guess you guys got a peek. So I'm gonna put up for you in just a moment here, after I delete the answers, some things written phonetically. And we're going to see if you guys can try and sound out what some of those are. And they're going to get a little more complicated as we go down. That's okay, because we get to start out with the nice, simple ones. Just a moment. So while I'm deleting them, just so you know, these letters are all exist in an alphabet called the International Phonetic Alphabet, also known as the IPA. If you look words up online or in dictionaries, this is often what you see it in. The Wiktionary is a really good dictionary for finding words written in IPA in different accents. So if you're learning British English or American English, that's a good resource for everyone. Okay, so now I have this document up. Can everyone see it just fine?
Yes.
Okay, so this first word, you can see, is composed of three sounds, I, and ch. So I'm going to spoil it for you. This word is in English spelled like that, and it's pronounced rich. Rich. So going down one, would anyone like to try and sound out number 2? Alternately, you can try and write what you think it is in the little verbling chat.
The second one?
Yeah, the second number 2.
Dream?
Hmm?
Dream?
It is not dream.
Jam.
Jam. Correct.
Jam.
It is indeed. It is jam. Spelled in English, we spell this word as I see someone correctly put into the Google chat, jam. So remember that this D and this little cursive Z looking symbol, this is not D and J, this is J together. J, J. So J and M. Okay, so going on, does anyone want to try number 3? This one's pretty easy, I think.
Bus.
Bus. Correct, bus. All right, this is going on. We would like to try this one. This one's a little trickier.
Thanks.
Hmm?
Thanks.
Things.
A chat box. Yes.
Correct, like this, things. But this one can be a little confusing because, of course, while it's written in G, it's really just one sound. And while it ends in an S, it's pronounced Z. So it's spelled things, but it's pronounced things. So, going one down, here's another word that can be a little tricky. Does anyone want to try and guess what that one is?
Could.
Could. Correct. Well, I can see some people are getting very aggressive going down the line. So that is indeed, that is could. Oops. Where's my page? Here it is. Oh, no, that's not it. Oh. Okay, yes. Could. What about this one down here?
Raise.
Say that again?
Raise.
It's rice. So try to make that these two vowel sounds into one vowel sound.
Rice.
Rice. Correct. This is rice, like the grain. Rice. Okay, so going on. Would anyone like to try this? Maybe someone who hasn't spoken up yet.
Have.
It is not have. That's not a V. So remember this sound right here, these are two vowels. This is a diphthong.
How.
How. Yes. This is how. How. And you can kind of hear it. It goes how. How.
Right. How.
All right. One more down. Anyone want to give this one a try?
Pizza.
Pizza. Correct. Pizza. Delicious. Anyone want to give this one a try?
Machine. Machine.
Yes. This is machine. Now we have 4 left. Anyone like to give this one a try?
Could I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ocean.
Ocean. Correct. Now here we have a big long one.
Explosion.
Say that one more time. Say it again.
Explosion.
Okay. Explosion.
Correct. This is explosion. X. X is written phonetically KS. Explosion. That SI becomes a J. So what about this word?
Delicious.
Right, and remember that because these vowels are very underpronounced, it's delicious. Delicious.
Okay. Delicious.
And then we have one final one.
Language.
Yes, this is language. L-U-A-N-G-W-I-D-G. So normally in English when you have this ng, it's just pronounced n, but sometimes when it's followed by a vowel, that g comes back. So it's not language, it's language. So all right, so there's our practice. Now, does anyone have any questions or things that confuse them at all?
It's really confused for me
You're what's so confusing for you?
with all the symbols.
Well, all right. So we'll go back through some of these. All right.
No,
So
actually, for me, is very weird also. This
I
kind
think
of
it's
symbols.
a little weird. It
Yeah.
is. It is weird. It's not the symbols we're looking for. We're used to seeing with English. We're used to seeing this on the right. The nice thing about knowing these is that, for instance, if you were to see could and you'd never seen this word before, you'd assume this L sounded like something. You'd assume that this OU made a unique sound. But really, as we can see, that phonetically, it's actually just could. It's just pronounced could. So a lot of English words are kind of misleading like this. Like you can see explosion, this SI makes a unique sound. This X makes actually multiple sounds. So are there any symbols in particular that we find confusing?
The second one.
I think that is very technical knowledge about this kind of symbols.
Yeah.
It's about, like you said, it's about phonetical knowledge, but it's not exactly understandable for us.
Okay. Well, let's try and see it maybe in action. So does anyone have, for instance, a word in English that they typically find very difficult to say or pronounce, or a word they've seen written
Yeah.
that they don't know how to say?
Singer. It's singer.
Anybody? No?
Can you hear me?
No difficult words?
Jack,
Yes.
I'm confused in number 10.
A number 10?
Yes, ocean
Mm-hmm.
is um, first first word. No, second word. What is
This
it?
part?
Second O and this like oo.
So these two sounds together make
Yes.
O. This single O actually makes more of an aw sound. And so the reason why it's written like this is because this alphabet, these symbols are used to write sounds in any language. So this O you see in like Spanish or some languages, on its own it sounds more like O. And in English, we have a very distinct O sound. It ends in this thing, so it becomes this new sound. So in dictionaries, you often see it written this way. Sometimes you'll even see it written with a W instead of that little symbol, and it'll be ocean. But yeah, it's like that because the sound is not ocean, it's ocean. When you make that vowel, that O sound, you should feel your lips close up near the end of it. O, ocean.
I never see the symbol for.
You've never seen that one before?
Yeah. But I understand it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, here. How about this? We will go see some of these things in action. So, just gonna pull up a online dictionary here.
Yes.
So you'll find some word that might be difficult or interesting to say. Let me think. Like I said, does anyone have any words they normally struggle with in English? Okay. Oh, with the word singer. Okay. So, I'm going to change the screen here really quick to show this. So here we have Wiktionary. It's just, it's an online dictionary. And we're going to look up the word, this word. Okay. So here we have it, and under the Wiktionary, they always have it in many different accents. So you'll see here's received pronunciation, which means British, and here's general American accent. And you'll see it written in two different styles. Here's the one we're talking about. This symbol is a little confusing. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. It depends on who wrote the alphabet. But that's just a schwa and an R fused together. Some people believe that that sound is a different vowel all on its own. So we can see it's pronounced singer. So you can see that, for one, the N and the G are not pronounced separately. It's not singer, it's singer. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, a little.
A little bit?
A little
What
bit.
else? What else confuses you about that word?
So it's not singer, right?
It's not singer, it's singer. You'd never actually pronounce that G. It's just that sound. Singer.
Singer.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me.
Singer. Yeah, this is pretty common in English, these words that are nger. We've gotten a new chat. Absent mind. Okay, so someone has a nice challenging word.
This is a difficult word for me.
It's a pretty big word. So here we'll go. The word is absent-mindedly.
Right. Absent-minded.
You guys have seen this word. This word it means to not be thinking about it or something. You're not in there. So here we have, and they've divided it up into syllables. So let's go with syllable by syllable. So what about this first one here?
Ab.
Ab.
Ab. Yeah.
Ab. Now here, this in with a little dot under it, that's like as if there was a schwa before it. It's like the in, it's its own syllables. So, does anyone want to try pronouncing this? It's a little tricky.
Sent.
Snt. Yes, absent.
Absent.
Snt.
Absent.
Yeah, so the in kind of is the vowel there. You could also write it with a little schwa next to it. Snt. Absent. So then we have this next syllable.
Absent.
Mind.
Was actually just mine. The D.
Without D?
There
Sorry.
was-
Okay, because your mouse was.
sorry about that.
Your cursor. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, so mine, and then this one,
D.
did. It's that short E, remember? So it's not deed, it's did. Just relax your eye. Did. Correct. Nailed it. Then this very final syllable.
Lee.
Lee. So together we have absent, mine, did, Lee.
Mindedly.
So what do you want to? So let's try pronouncing in some chunks. So as you can see, kind of up here with the end of this, you can see there's 3 chunks of this word. There's absent, minded, and Lee. So let's try just at these first 2 syllables. Do you want to try those out?
Right. Absent. Minded. Like.
Yeah. So absent, minded, Lee.
Like.
So who was it who had a hard time with this word? Is that you?
Monica.
Monica, you was you, right? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to try saying it?
Okay. Absent-mindedly.
Yeah, absent-mindedly. Correct.
Absent-mindedly.
Didly.
Didly. Absent-mindedly.
Yes, correct.
Oh, it's a difficult word.
It is. It's a very big word. It's made up of several other components. It's absent, which means like to be gone. You're not here. And then mind, as in your brain. And then didly makes it basically an adjective. So it's like your brain's not there. You're not thinking. Absent-mindedly. It's a pretty tricky word. It's a big word. Another little hint, if you see these little apostrophes, sometimes in dictionaries they'll do this. This apostrophe tells you where the stress goes in the word.
Okay.
So in this word, the apostrophe comes before it. So this syllable is the stressed one. So it's not absent-mindedly or not absent-mindedly. It's absent-mindedly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You have to put the emphasis in the main.
What was the question?
You have to put the emphasis. Oh.
Yeah, the emphasis
the
is on
most
the
strong intonation in main.
mine. Yes.
Oh, okay, mine.
Yeah, and this apostrophe before it tells us that this is the stressed syllable. Sometimes in long English words, there's a major stress and a minor stress. That's what this little under apostrophe means. So ab takes the second stress. So you can kind of hear it when I say it absent-mindedly, that ab also is stressed, but it's not as stressed as mine. Luckily, most shorter words just have the one stress, and so you just know that apostrophe stresses it. So absent-mindedly. Does anyone else have any problem words?
Yeah, yes, teacher, but I don't know the spelling of this. Vulnerable. It is something. It is weekends. It's like
Okay.
we can, you know.
It's you say it means weak.
No, no. It is something like it is so hard, or it is so easy to hurt. Vulnerable.
Yes. Okay. So this is actually a good one because this one there's some words that sound similar to this one. So the word you're thinking of is honorable, spelled like this.
Yes, exactly.
Now, here we have it spelled. Sometimes you'll see this R upside down. That's the same as the regular R. And this.
Sorry, teacher, for interrupting. But what does mean if I see a letter between brackets?
If you see
Yes.
like this.
Yes, exactly.
What that means it's kind of optional. So it means that you can pronounce it or you can't, and that in English both are done with pretty much the same amount of frequency. So
Okay.
basically, some people will say it with this vowel, and some people will skip it altogether.
So I have option to drop it or not. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And you'll hear people say it both ways. So let's try and sound this out. They haven't put in the syllable dots, so I'll just highlight them for you. All right. So this is the first syllable. Would anyone like to try saying it?
Valn.
Voln.
Valn.
So this little upside down V, that's like in bus. So voln. Voln.
So the L is silent here?
The L is not silent. This is something where sometimes in phonetics you'll see this L written differently. Sometimes you won't. This is something in English is called dark L. I'm gonna put that into the chat for you guys really quick.
But teacher, how know this is a dark L or a right L? So how could I distinguish between two L?
Sometimes in phonetics it'll be written differently. If you ever see the L with a dash through it, that is what'll come up. I can look up here. I'll even look up that symbol for you.
Okay.
That's that. Dark L. Wikipedia. No, that's not it. Where is... Dark L is pronounced... Trying to find the little symbol for it. There's sometimes a symbol, sometimes they're not. These are symbols. This one right here. Do you see that?
Yes,
this one is the most common symbol, and sometimes you'll see it, but sometimes you also won't, as in here. The best I can do for you is that dark L's in English tend to appear after if they're at the back side of a vowel. So if it was at the start of the vowel, it'd be the regular L, the L. But because it's after the vowel, it turns into ol.
Okay.
And it's also normally after vowels that are pronounced in the back of your mouth. So for instance, after riedel, it's still a light L. But after ol or all, it's a dark L. And the way to make a dark L, say L, and then move your tongue back a little bit, like you're going to make a K sound, but not all the way. So ol, 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 ol. You just move your tongue back a little bit.
Okay.
So the L is pronounced, so it is voln, voln.
Von.
Yeah, so really try to get that L in there, the voln.
Von. Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is a little hard. That's a difficult, that L in at the end, voln. So then we have our next syllable is alternately, we're going to do it this way first. We're going to include that E in there. So the next syllable would be this. Very easy. Can you say it?
Yes, I see it, teacher.
Yeah, try pronouncing it.
Okay. Just this letter?
Yeah, just these two.
Okay.
Correct. So vuln, and then we have, and then we have able. Yes.
Yeah.
This L has that dot under it, which makes it like its own syllable. So able.
Apple. This is standard. L.
Yes. So vulnerable. Now, this E is optional, like I said, the schwa. So if the schwa goes, this R attaches to this schwa over here, and we get vulnerable. You try saying that?
Vulnerable.
Yeah, so it's either vulnerable or vulnerable. But
Okay.
either way. So yeah, so that's how it's pronounced. Vulnerable. And see, it's a little easier when you can see how it's pronounced here. Does that help at all?
Yes, teacher, it's helped. But I know it is so difficult to me to say it in the right way, like a native speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, these little pronunciation guides will help because these are how they're said. And if you need help with those things, like I said, on Wikipedia things, you can actually click on the symbols, and that will take you to their page. Oh, I see Adam Taylor has conveniently linked us to the Wikipedia page for dark L. And that page, if you want to click on it, if you're curious about those L's, that'll tell you everything you want to know about this sound. That page is also, yeah, so that's the page I was showing you earlier. And you can even look up this page in some other languages, and it'll probably have it. So that's a dark L. I can see William has another suggestion, something. That's a pretty simple word. I think with our phonetic abilities, we'll be able to figure this one out without much issue. So here we can say, and as last time, this one includes a UK pronunciation, a US one, and even the Australian pronunciation. So here we have the US pronunciation. It's in 2 syllables. Would anyone like to try pronouncing that? Anyone who isn't already familiar with this word? Maybe William?
Something.
Something. Yeah, it's just that easy. Just something. And we know it's something and not something because it's this symbol, not the other one from earlier.
It's the interdental fricative voice.
That is, yes, correct. And it's and that voiceless part is what tells us it's your throat won't vibrate when you make the sound. If it was voiced, it'd be but yeah, the voiceless interdental fricative is what that's called. In fact, actually, now that he said that, I'll take a moment. So on this page we found L, and he also said every time I click on it, it gives us these titles of it. These are what the words are called in phonetic terminology, and they're very technical. You don't need to like memorize them or anything, but knowing what being able to look at them and kind of decipher them can help. This first part of the word tells you where in the mouth it's made. This word actually refers to your gums. This tells us that the tongue is near the gums. Because it's lateral, it comes out the side of your mouth instead of the front. And approximate means you're not really being very obstructive with the airflow. So that's what gives you an L, L. And you can kind of feel it if you make it L, that your tongue touches your gums, and that if you actually put your hand up, you can feel the air L is coming out the sides of your mouth instead of the center of your mouth. For a slightly more simple one, let's go voiceless, labial. So here's kind of a simpler sound. Voiceless bilabial stop. This tells us 3 things. Voiceless tells us that our throat will not vibrate when we say it. It refers to your vocal cords, so voiced or voiceless. Bilabial is a fancy Greek root, Latin root word. It just means bi, just means 2. Labial means lips. Bilabial means both your lips. And a stop means you completely stop the air. So this is P. This is just P. And knowing these, looking at what these words mean can be useful sometimes if there's a sound that you have a hard time making. So if you had a hard time with your P's, you could look this up, and the guide will tell you literally how you make the sound. And they even will clarify down here. They say, you know, it's this is occlusive, which sounds complicated. This is it means it's produced by stopping the airflow. So it's bilabial. It's articulated with both lips. Voiceless, which means produced without vibrations in the vocal cords, which are in your throat. So that can be useful to you, knowing these names of the sounds. And if you want to know their names, you can either look them up on the International Phonetic Alphabet, or you can just use Wikipedia. It's very helpful like that.
Oh, yeah. I have a question. What's the name for the American R?
The name for the American R. That's a very good question. So let me see if I can just get to it easily. Just looking R. Well, here we go. In English, it's called the alveolar approximant. Now, you might remember this alveolar from earlier. It means with your gums. Alveolar, it's the same place. You're doing the same thing with your tongue that you do to make a t, a d, or a l. It's all right there. Or an in, a n, t, l, d, and then r. Your tongue, your R is in the same place. And it's an approximant. An approximant, it means that you're barely obstructing the air that comes out of your mouth. So you could think of like stops, like a p, completely stop the air, p. Then there's sounds like fricatives, like the th sound, where you're not stopping the air, but you're really getting in its way. So sh, those are all fricatives. An approximant is where you're barely affecting the air. So r, you barely get in its way, just enough to make a sound. That's not a vowel. You might also notice that our L was called an alveolar lateral approximant, and this one is just the alveolar approximant. That means is that the only actual difference between R and L is whether or not you're letting the sound flow directly over your tongue or if you're pushing it off to the sides. So, r. So remember that your tongue is in the same place as a T or a D or something. T, D.
Thanks.
So yeah, you can kind of go T, you can go T, D, R. The. Does that help you out with your question about that sound?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, I hope it helps. I found learning these actually useful when I was learning other languages. If there was a sound in Chinese, for instance, that I was having, I heard it, but I didn't know how to make it myself. I would look these up and read the guide, and that would tell me where to put my tongue and my lips to make the sound, and I found that very helpful. So if you have sounds you're having a hard time making in English, looking them up can be really useful. So does anyone else have any questions about phonetics or these symbols, anything they'd like to look up or know about? Okay.
But teacher, about the same letter R. It is so close to the R. It is so close to L because it is same both. I mean liquid letters.
Yes.
So there is something. It is. I mean. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, teacher.
No. So you're saying you have a issue with distinguishing R and L?
Yes. No, it is. I mean, the tongue. It is so close between when we produce these two letters L and R. It is so close. You don't think so?
Oh no, I do. It is all. In fact, it's this. Your tongue is actually in pretty much the same place. That's why they're both called alveolar. All letters where your tongue, all letters that their name is alveolar, means that your tongue is in that same place, right near your gums. So yeah, L and R, in fact, like I said, this R, and I'm going to put this in the Verbling chat, R, its scientific name, that sound, is the alveolar approximant, like this. L is called, in the L sound, an alveolar lateral approximant, like this. Do you notice they're both alveolar approximants? The only difference is that word lateral. And all lateral means is you're pushing the air out the side of your mouth instead of in the center.
Okay.
So if you kind of make it r, if you kind of really if you kind of breathe into it so you can feel the air with your hand in front of your mouth, you can feel that the air comes out. Then if you go you can kind of feel your lips will stretch a bit to the side, and you'll feel that air, instead of coming out the middle, it kind of flows out the side of your mouth. That's the only difference between R and L. That's it.
Mm-hmm. So, but is there two ways to pronounce this letter? I mean, R when he is come in the beginning of the word, or when he came in the end of the word. So it is same pronounce, or it is a different?
It's actually in English. So yeah, you notice that how L becomes that dark L. There is, however, what?
No, teacher. Sorry, I talk about R sound.
Yeah, So R does not have a different R at the end. However, and this is a little technical. You don't need to worry about this too much, but I feel I'll mention it to you anyway. English actually has a unique relationship with this sound that the only other language I know of that does this is Chinese. And it's called R coloring of your vowels. And that's why if you were here earlier and we were looking at that word and there was a little schwa with it looked funny and I told you it was just a sound, that's what that symbol was, because some people argue that the that comes at the end of sounds like writer, letter, that those aren't actually a vowel and an R, that the R and the vowel have fused together. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you get words like hearse, written this way, hearse, or start, and people argue that the R is coloring the vowel, making it a unique sound, R, but that is that's a bit technical. That's a question for scientists. Okay. For our understanding, you don't really need to know it. What you need to know is that, yeah, R is the same before and after. Unlike L, which we have that light L and that dark L, the L and the AL sound.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions about English sounds or anything before I move on? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, teacher.
Yes. Okay.
You know this printer called Xerox?
Yes, Xerox.
Yeah, how I can spell it that?
Xerox. Oh, I believe it is most you can spell it. It depends on, because the word Xerox, where it comes from, is a brand name. There was a company called Xerox. However, that brand name came to mean the process of copying. Oftentimes, instead of saying, hey, copy that, people will say, hey, Xerox that. And they're using it as a verb, but it comes from this company. So it's a little confusing because English speakers don't always know how to spell it. The two spellings you'll see is there is Xerox with an X and Xerox with a Z, like this. I'm more familiar with the version with a Z. I have, however, seen people spell it with an X. But I would say that if you go with the Z, you say it's Xerox, you'll be good.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Okay, so one last thing I wanted to mention, and part of why I feel like these sounds are useful, because I feel like some people are still a little skeptical. So we know these names of them now. And there was something earlier when we were doing our phonetic exercises, and we found that things was written with a Z, things, instead of thinks. Sometimes knowing these can help explain to you why English sounds are a certain way. So if we go back to the page for English phonology, right over here, and we can see all of our consonants. every time you see one that is in this pair in this box, there's one on the left, one on the right, down here, left and right. That's voiceless on the left, voiced on the right. That means the only distinction between these sounds is the voicing, which means are your vocal cords vibrating or are they not? So P, P, there's no vibration. But B, B, there is. F and V, your vocal cords don't vibrate. V, V, they do. So that's the distinction between these. And sometimes in English, in phonology, which is the language, which is how languages use sound, in English, these will affect one another. So if a word ends in a voiced sound, like a B, or a D, or a J, or a V, or a V, when I make it plural and I add that S will sound like a Z, because Z is the voiced version of these. Contrarily, on the other hand, if it ends in a T, or a P, or an F, or a F, or a sh, it'll end in an S sound. So that's why we get words like cats and dogs, where cats is pronounced, would be cats ends in that S sound, s, and dogs ends in that Z sound, z. And the reason is because cat ends in the voiceless t, but dog ends in a voiced g. So knowing this can actually help you when you're saying English, and knowing why English sounds do a certain thing is because they're voiced like this. That's also why, for example, if you notice how in words like realization or reparation, they're spelled with a T-I, but that T-I is pronounced like a sh. What's happening is that E vowel is pronounced further back in your mouth, so the T is basically sliding backwards and becoming this sh instead of a T. So knowing about these sounds and about phonetics in general can actually help you a lot with learning how to properly pronounce these English words and why certain sounds disappear or appear in English, when in spelling, the spelling won't help you too much because English spelling doesn't really reflect how the words are pronounced.
But teacher, I have a question.
Yes?
So what do you think? What is the nearest dictionary give you American accent? It's American accent typical. I mean, what is this dictionary I have used it for American accent, not Oxford or Cambridge? I don't mean British accent. Yeah, you get my question.
Yeah, so in fact, when you're watching earlier, when we use I highly recommend the Wiktionary. Right over here, this one that I'm using, it's Wikipedia's dictionary. Sometimes it has a little bit too much information that can be confusing to people, but right here in this pronunciation section, you'll notice it has UK, US, Australia, and sometimes it'll even have more. And when it says US, this is the American pronunciation of a word. It'll also have the American spelling of the word, in addition to the British spelling when you look them up.
Okay.
So this is what I recommend, because this is good, especially even if you want to know how the British say something. So you notice that the British have some different pronunciations, but in America it's something. They also say over here, if you want to get real technical, this here is how sometimes you'll hear people when they're speaking really fast. This little weird question mark is a sound. It's kind of like a sound, and you'll sometimes hear people say something. This is something.
Okay.
So it can even help you pronounce slang correctly or slurred pronunciation. So yeah, I recommend the Wiktionary, and even if you're not so great at reading the sounds, sometimes it even has this audio option. So this, you can actually hit play on it and it'll just pronounce something for you.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Okay, so we're about out of time. Does anyone have any last questions or concerns?
I don't have, teacher.
Okay. So, before getting off, I'll just mention, so you can find all these sounds if you look up the Wikipedia page for English phonology. I'll write it into the chat. English phonology on Wikipedia will bring you to this page. And it's nice because, like I said, you can click the sound symbols and it will take you to a page where it will have that sound in all different languages. So sometimes you'll be surprised to find that a sound does exist in your language, but only in certain areas that you didn't know about. If you want to know more about these phonetic sounds and see all of them for all the languages, you want to look up the International Phonetic Alphabet. Also, I recommend on Wikipedia. It's actually a really great resource for these phonetic symbols. So that's yeah. So and Google will also sometimes use these sounds if you want to look up pronunciation or hear it pronounced. So that's all I have for now. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you do learn and use these sounds. It can be really useful. So,
Yes.
goodbye, everyone.
Okay, bye, teacher.